If you've ever tried to figure out exactly what it is your nervous system is trying to tell you when you experience symptoms of fight, flight, or freeze in your body, then this episode is for you. Welcome to where you are finally able to get unstuck and experience nervous system peace that is integrated into your everyday life as your new normal, because transformation is a way of life here, and yours begins now. So you ever had like a deep guttural like response or reaction that's like do X, Y, and Z, even if like the outside world just does not resonate? Then you're going to want to stick around, because today we are talking about how we can actually interpret that, what that means, and all of that kind of good stuff, right? So we actually have this very cool language that our bodies innately know how to respond to, and it is trying to oftentimes communicate to us, and we sometimes just don't even know what to do with it. We have no idea why we're feeling the things we feel. We have no idea what is even happening. We just feel the things. And especially if it is very overwhelming, dealing with fear responses, things of that nature, where your body actually feels like it could be in danger, you might have overwhelming feelings, triggers, emotions, responses. I guess like today's day and age, like I heard the term recently, crashing out, and it's kind of basically what I'm talking about, where it's like you express significant emotions and you erratically respond to a situation you otherwise, if you were like in a calm, standard kind of like normal mindset, you would not maybe respond that way. This is what I'm talking about. These things have major communication that you are trying to oftentimes like shut down or be like, no, I don't want to hear that. And it will come roaring back, where that's where the crashing out comes from. And like you'll often see stuff like that to that extreme, because the subconscious mind is like, no, you're not listening. You will listen to me and I will make you pay attention. This is also why if you've repeated patterns, your patterns, if you are starting to become online, you will actually notice a progression in intensity in the negative way of scenarios you're experiencing if you are not following those instinctual responses. Some people call them downloads, especially if you have a relationship with God, divine intuition, things of that nature. I don't have time today on this conversation, definitely have to do it in a recent one, but we have a literal electrical grid system that is backed by research. That's what I love about this topic, because we can actually trace, track, and watch basically the connection, right? There's different ways that people have studied this through the years. Heart Math Institute has done tons of like the heart coherence, because you'll feel that when you're in that safe space, you feel that expansion of the heart space. Well, I don't care what religion you talk about, they all talk about like that love, that heart-centered connection. In the Christian faith, it's that loving aspect, right? And in other areas, there's energetic aspects that we can actually measure the frequencies and the energy and the shifts in the overall body wellness based on the heart loving experience. Hey y'all, really quick, if you could, I would love so much for you to like and subscribe. That is the best way to let us know that not only one, you love our content, but two, it helps us because it tells the algorithms that our content is worthy to be shared. And we would love so much for you to share this content out if it resonates. And don't forget to take our free quiz, see what kind of healing archetypes you have so that you can shift your life for the better. Now get back to the conversation. Experience. And when we are able to tap into these different areas, we are able to literally shift our programming, our mindsets, our energy, because we can experience one situation and have various feelings about it, and even step back to point of detachment, which if you have, like, if you've heard where you show 30 different people a movie, right? Like say it's like an emergency situation, it's like first responder type thing, right? Crash scene, say, everyone watches the same, 10-minute video, right, of this crash scene in this situation. You are going to have 30 different perspectives on this particular scenario. I don't care if you had like a room full of men 18 to 24, right? But you're still going to have 30 different experiences, even though they're all relatively, like the same, right? Maybe they all grew up, in the same state or whatever, right? You could have like what would be considered like the same expectations and still have 30 very different perspectives. Why? Because their bodies are all receiving the information a different way based on the programming and things that their bodies have experienced and the things that are stuck. If you look at an acupuncture and acupressure, the meridians, the grids that the traditional Chinese medicine uses, you can see and you'll feel ways, if you do it properly, that you can move energy. This is actually stuff I help teach my clients. And we literally, because my whole point of my program is you do your short time with me, I help you get going, I help you, do all this stuff and get you really in a good rhythm, and then, stick around for a community kind of a thing. But like, you should be able to, if I do my job right, you should be fully functioning and able to do the things that I've taught you on your own, because life is going to happen. Shit is going to happen, and it is not exempt just because you have this awareness. What you are having the option to become exempt of is being completely engulfed in a 3D reality experience that is overwhelming and diluting and, like crazy making. Even sometimes you're like, I'm going to consciously choose not to do that. And I'm going to step back and choose this instead, because of the awareness and the ability to see what it is that we have going on in our energy, the things that are being created. But first, if we are not tapping into the communication that our body and our nervous system is trying to express and say, hey, pay attention to this or do this or whatever, right? It could be a variety of things. A lot of times my ladies who come to me to up-level their lives, they are coming to me because they are starting to become aware that they're like, okay, I might be the common denominator, because sorry to break the bad news, but we are all the common denominator in our stories, good, bad, or otherwise. Not saying you are consciously wanting to and intentionally trying to create it. You probably aren't, actually. You're probably doing it on a subconscious level. But whatever we subconsciously integrate and communicate, because that's where our body and the nervous system is really communicating, is that subconscious level. That's why it's like kind of ambiguous until you start to really understand and connect with your body and listen to your body and understand what your body is trying to say to you. Because when you are able to tap into this connectedness within you and this awareness, for me, my relationship with God has like so expanded on like this unrealistic level that I could have never conceived. Like things I prayed about for like decades ago, I could have never conceived the level of connection and flow I have. But that's because I'm so in tune with Him, in tune with God and that wisdom, and open. But it's because I had to learn to be safe and be open, and my body create that sensitivity that is expressive and open to God's wisdom as it comes through. Because it'll be different things in life. It'll be in prayer in my morning, like I get tons of information. But instead of being super chatty brain in my head and filled with angsty thoughts and all this shit that is just overwhelming. And I'm not saying I don't have things that are, in fact, very overwhelming. And when people are telling you like, whoa, that's a lot. Yeah, it is what it is, right? Like, it's life. It's a period of time that we're experiencing. However, it doesn't mean you should just give up and like, oh, my life sucks. Like, okay, maybe, yeah, sure, it might a little bit, or suck worse than others. But at the end of the day, like, you're still going to choose or not to properly engage the situation. You might be not doing your routines in the morning. For me, I know when I'm stressed, I become extra aware if I'm maintaining my day-to-day, meditations, my stretching, my body, like I have like whole routines, right? Like I will become extra disciplined because I know I'm stressed and overwhelmed, and I need to lean in even harder, which is actually really, really difficult, because, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how much like it would be easier to like sleep in and not be disciplined and just give up. It's, oh my gosh, so much easier. You're going to pay for it either way. You pay it for it on the front end with the inconvenience and the like, ugh, I got to put in this work. Ugh, I got to do that. Ugh, can I just sleep? Like, sure, you could, but you're going to pay for it on the other end with a whole variety of consequences for not staying on your game. And it's going to look a variety of ways, right? Depending on your programming, where you're at, all the things, right? It's going to look a variety of things. But see, I like consistency personally, and my consistency is that I am building myself out, because then it makes me more resilient to take on whatever is coming my way. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. Is it better than it was even a year ago? Absolutely. And it should be. It should be a slow progression. It's not supposed to be a massive jump, although people can absolutely experience quantum leaps, quantum timeline jumps. The problem with that is sometimes the shift can be so big that it's hard to stabilize. If you're able to stabilize, fantastic. Do it all you want. But if not, slow and steady should definitely be more of a priority, right? And that's really because we want to become aware of what our bodies are saying, that nervous system, that subconscious, these deep feelings, these subconscious thoughts. If you happen to catch yourself just like saying this stuff, I love talking and just like having external conversations on like what's on my brain when I'm feeling overwhelmed. It helps, one, get rid of the chatter if you're feeling an overwhelm of it, but also it helps you hear your thoughts on like what you're actually thinking, because there might be something else going on that has nothing to do with the present moment of like situation. Like it's deeper than that. I always like, you'll hear me with my clients talk about time, like, well, what's really deeper than that? Like, where's the root of this actually coming from? Because there's always something deeper. We just need to start pulling on that thread. And then once we start pulling on the thread of consciousness, it will start to unravel. It might be a little bit hard to start at first, but then you just start pulling and it just opens right up. And it's so amazing the information we can extract from it. So if this is you, I have a couple of things that I want to help you out with. Of course, we have our meditation at the end, so it'll help solidify everything. But today I want to really dig in quickly on some techniques you can actually do to help you gain awareness of things that are going on within your body, what your body is trying to say, especially if this is brand new for you. It's really good for anyone, regardless of where you're at on your journey, because we all need, become aware. We need to become aware of our shit so we can like deal with it. And most importantly, like once we're aware of it, we can then consciously decide how we want to deal with it. It's not good. It's not bad. Maybe you want to make some tweaks. Maybe it's like a whole totally 180 degree, right? Turn the other way kind of a thing. But the thing is you have a choice. Like that's my big thing. You have the choice. You have the choice to make the conscious thought of how I want to deal with this now. So with that being said, if you are struggling where you are walking into scenarios where surroundings, you're actually safe, but you're learning how to overcome, this is really good for people with social anxiety, things that like crowds overwhelm you. To be honest, this is stuff that I would do. It's exposure therapy kind of. It's got a bit of exposure therapy in there. You'll see what I mean in a second. And you might find yourself sometimes saying like, oh, I'm just overreacting. There's nothing going on. And and that might actually be completely valid, right? Especially if you suffer from like social anxiety, things like that, be like, oh my gosh, your brain might be spinning. But instead of dismissing yourself, like you're just overreacting, and it's because you're dismissing and pushing it away. The thing is, these feelings are wanting to come up because at some point in time, it served you to be either hypervigilant, excessively aware. Maybe something happened recently where you are finding yourself in a similar situation where now you're all of a sudden like super angsty, you're like jumpy, everything's not okay, you're not safe, is really ultimately how you're feeling. And so once you understand why, you will be able to move through it. But if you're dismissing it like, you again, why aren't, like, I don't even want to deal with you because you're not even curious. You're just shutting it down. So instead of being like, I'm overreacting or whatever, right, trying to dismiss it, I want you to try something different. I want you to speak to your body, especially if you feel it somewhere. People might feel it in their chest, like that tightness. They might feel it in their main abdomen, their organs. You can't see me, I'm short, like I'm touching my belly. You might feel it right through here, like that contraction, and like you might feel your heart rapid, like even now, right? Like moving to the chest breathing, right? You're no longer belly breathing, where if you're nice and relaxed, you should be belly breathing and just like shoulders down, and like this should be how you are, right? Chill, not angsty. And so when your body is in that situation, be like, all right, my body, I see you. I know you're trying to protect me. And if you specifically know an event that happened, I know you were trying to protect me because such and such time I was unable to protect myself. And so now you are feeling the same way, thinking, here we are again. We have to fight everybody. No, baby, you're okay. You're safe now. It feels good to be safe because right now, and you can talk to yourself about like what's going on around yourself. And I know it might sound like weird, but if your body is having like a really, really deep physiological reaction where you are just freaked out and you are just like ready to fight, your body actually needs to hear it. As odd as it sounds, your body truly needs to hear these things, because if your body is able to hear it, your body is experiencing it. Because remember, our ability to be heard, to be seen, to be spoken about, your words are power. I know a lot of people are probably going to freak, but fair warning, your words, we spell our words on a written paper because we are speaking spells. We are speaking energy into action. We are speaking this over our life. That I grew up with the old little hymn. It was like sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words can be incredibly detrimental. And we are speaking that energy into existence. We are speaking that negativity over ourselves, into our lives, into our field. And so when we speak safety and connection to our physical body, and even if it feels good, right? Like if you are feeling if you're like doing this number, right? You might find it good putting your hand on your heart and over your belly, which is right where your breastbone is, where your power center is, and being able to connect, being able to know how to be one with yourself, right? Those can be so powerful as you're speaking that into your energy field, your auric field. That's where the term thought energy comes from, because the conscious thoughts or even subconscious thoughts that we are having, we can actually pick up on them. And because it'll enter into our field, and if we're sensitive enough and in tune enough, we can start to process them and what people are thinking and feeling. And we can pick up on each other's physical and psychic energies. It's really cool. There's a lot of science behind it. And I love it because to me, it just further validates God. It further validates the existence. And it's cool because it's like we get to watch it as much as we feel it. And so I just always geek out because I love being able to show people like the magnitude of the work that we get to do and experience on a conscious level. And I think we get to enjoy it more. We get to like be blessed by it more because we are actively aware it's taking place. So like for me, whenever things happen, I'm like, oh, thank you. I love you. I get all excited because truly it's like a little deposit in like your love bank. If you've ever heard that term, if you are, love is like, a banking account, right? You've got to add into it to keep it growing. But if you're taking from it, right, it's reciprocal thing. And so it's the same thing. It's like having that courage, that nourishment of the soul, having that connection. But sometimes we need to give it to ourselves because we're the only ones that can at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what anyone did or didn't do to us, how that has impacted us or anything else. At the end of the day, you're responsible. I'm responsible. We all are responsible for our own shit. And so when we can even self-soothe and just have that conversation, like you were so safe, it's okay. Be easy, rest, breathe, you're okay. Second thing I want to share with y'all before you dive into that meditation is when you're experiencing whatever it is, right? Again, instead of shutting it down, being like, no, this isn't happening, call into some grace for yourself and ask yourself what it is you need. Because sometimes you might need something deep and like bigger than what you can self-soothe at the moment. Sometimes it might be like, I just need to know I'm going to be okay. I just need to know that this is going to work out or whatever it is, right? Like ultimately I need to be soothed because, I'm highly triggered about X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be. But when you are able to identify the ability to be aware of what your body is really needing at a soul deep nourishment level can be so empowering. Just giving yourself the words, the language, the ability to speak it into existence can be just soothing and empowering if you do it properly because your body is being heard. So if you have wounds of never being seen, nobody listening, especially if you see it with your children, I will always check in with myself when my kids are really acting up. There's usually something in my energy going on. There's something I'm not aware of, and I'll sit back in meditation or prayer and just go within and be open to the answer that comes. What's going on right now? Why do I feel this? Why do I experience this right now? What's taking place? And it will come to me. It may not come to me right in that moment, but it will come to me and I can start making changes like, all right, this is what needs to happen and go forward from there. Because without me taking the lead to really tune into what I need and being the person to pour into my soul, because at the end of the day, we are all responsible for ourselves. And if we aren't pouring into ourselves, well, again, taking from that love bank, if you're always depleting, who's pouring in? Because we are responsible for our own accounts. We have to pour into ourselves as much as we're being pulled out of. And this is why one-sided relationships don't work. One person always ends up burning out at some point because it is crazy making impossible to do that long-term for anybody on either side. Doesn't matter which way it swings. It's destructive. It's not good. It's unbalanced at the end of the day. And without that balance, destruction, depletion, exhaustion, burnout, all these really negative things. So with that being said, let me know in the comments how this helped, how you feel, and even more so after you do our meditation where we go deep into becoming a little bit more aware of your body and what it's trying to speak, opening up. Because honestly, being willing to be quiet and able to be quiet long enough to receive the information is the hardest and most important step. Because without being open, clear, and able to receive the messages, if we're bogged down, lots of mental chatter, they'll come to us. So it's not that nobody or nothing is speaking to you. You're just not able to receive it because you're so bogged down with all this other information floating about. It's not good. So, with that being said, I love y'all and I will connect with y'all next time. Take care.